How's it going, guys? So, I got Rage 2, and I honestly don't see what all the hype is about. It's this disc-like frisbee thing that you can extend and throw around, but it doesn't feel very sturdy, and in my opinion, it's probably not worth the
You
60...
know a game came with that, right?
What? Abbreviated Reviews? I didn't know you worked for the FBI.
Yeah, that's right, the FBI.
Well, here we go. Ugh. It looks better with banana peel. Rage 2 follows a few decades after the first game. The TLDR is an asteroid hit Earth and a post-apocalyptic setting happen. You play as Walker, who supposedly had a pretty cushy life despite being in a wasteland, at least until the Authority, an evil organization that should have been defeated in the first game, came back and attacked your hometown, city, trash pile, I don't know. It's not like you see it unattacked or anything. Anyway, the Authority's robo-nudist leader kills your mother figure, and Walker needs to help three losers to kill him back. That's it. That's the story.
For the bulk of the time I played Rage 2, I'd long forgotten there was a story. It's thrown at you in the beginning like it's going to have substance and value, and then moments after your impaled Aunt Nobody finishes talking to you from beyond the grave, you set off into the open world completely ignoring the main quest until you happen to run into one of the hub points.
The plot is beyond half-assed, quarter-assed at best. The first Rage was forgettable, but at least the story gave the world an atmosphere with an insidious hidden group behind the scenes. This, outside of the opening scene, the evil Authority just builds annoying towers and you see them like 5 times before the final battle. It's not like Rage 2 had big shoes to fill, but this is pathetic. If I had to say something positive about the story, it's that the ending is much better than its predecessor. Although that's not saying too much because Rage 1's ending was so shitty, it made Mass Effect 3's look like the entirety of Avengers Endgame. There's not a single person you care about in this game either. The main character is the most bland and unlikable action protagonist there is. After seeing their mom essentially cut down before their eyes, they don't even express, what's that emotion you need for vengeance? Oh, that's right, rage. They just make dumb, snarky jokes, and both female and male protagonists suck.
What kind of surprise you got for me here, Ghost Browley?
You pick their gender, but what you're really choosing is their voice. The male feels like the pilot guy from the new Star Wars trilogy, but with less personality, and the female is Captain Marvel. Have fun between those choices.
The various crusty-looking inhabitants of this wasteland that actually offer you side quests do so just as forgettably as any of the NPCs for an Elder Scrolls game. They might as well have just thrown them all in a generic quest board and saved money on voice actors and animation.
That's being pretty generous too. At least Elder Scrolls side quests provide some story. Rage 2's side quests are basically just to highlight the same old side objectives you come across throughout the game. If you want to add a little fun to these, I would try to find out which obscure voice the NPCs are trying to rip off.
You like the Goon Squad? Of course not. They're a blight on the earth.
Oh, that woman's body over there, that's a temple. A black woman's body is a temple of doom.
The story is obviously not the focus, it's the gameplay, and it's a mixed bag. The shooting on its own is fantastic. They basically copy and pasted Doom 2016's core mechanics and added a few tweaks, namely some powers and the kill multiplier. Killing enemies quickly means a higher kill streak, which means enemies drop more health and charge up your rage mode.
I don't think it's called Rage Mode. I think it's Overdrive. Wait, yeah, it says here it's called Overdrive, man.
What? But that's like an easy fucking... whatever. Combat is fast, fun, and satisfying. It's completely different from the original's aggressive cover-based mechanics, which honestly had potential, but I guess id Software didn't want to reinvent the wheel after making the best FPS this generation.
When I saw that both id Software and Avalanche were working on this game, I had a fantasy where Doom's demon-obliterating gameplay blended with the gritty vehicle combat and rust-infused open world of Mad Max. The gameplay feels like the developers set out with this in mind, but settled for a dirty pink Far Cry. Combat was fast-paced and exciting in the early part of the game, tearing through these armed simpletons and sending them flying with every concentrated shotgun blast and special melee attack gave me a warm fuzzy feeling in the depths of my twisted blackened soul. However, the longer I played the game, the more I saw the issues.
Rage 1's other selling point was its car combat. The driving areas were really condensed and bandits had nothing better to do than harass the shit out of you and cause as much damage as possible to your beautiful ride. In Rage 2, enemy vehicles aren't nearly as frequent and the map is pretty large. This essentially makes the car feel more like a Toyota Corolla, designed to reliably get you from point A to B, and less post-apocalyptic vehicular manslaughter action. This brings up the other major issue with Rage 2. The open world is bland and uninteresting, which means you don't want to explore it, and unfortunately for Rage 2, you find new powers and guns by exploring and finding arcs. So the progression system is totally fucked. I'm no game designer, but you'd think these locations should at least be sprinkled around some of the main roads that you travel on when completing the main missions, but they're not. After beating the main story, I had about 5 of the 8 weapons and half the nanotrite powers.
I also finished Rage 2 having only found about half the weapons. Of the weapons I did have, I only really used 2. The handful of times I bothered venturing out to find more arcs, I would unlock abilities that didn't have much value to me, such as a slightly faster sprint with a cooldown that was apparently for people who didn't know they could just sprint. I think the open world design of the game fails on a fundamental level. It doesn't coerce the player to do the vast majority of the included content outside of the main mission.
To the game's credit, the weapons are still pretty cool. I'd say they're like a second-rate resistance arsenal, satisfying to use, and they have different functions depending if you're aiming down the sights or not. Although Rage 2 has a really annoying tendency to give you a tutorial every time you get something new. Like, are you fucking serious? You're teaching me how to shoot a shotgun? Who the hell doesn't know how those work? If Rage 2 is seriously the first game you've ever played, I feel genuinely bad for you. Also, I can't be the only one who misses using the monocular with the pistol to form a poor man's sniper in the first game. In Rage 2, the pistol becomes a glorified box opener, because your melee attack just quite can't fucking reach the... Conversely, not only did it get the job done, but it's fucking hilarious. Imagine this guy, with a gun, lining up headshots left and right just to flex on you and your bandit friends. It's so stupid, but it has charm and I love it. You had to resort to those tactics pretty often in the original Rage because the game had difficulty. Rage 2 is really easy by comparison. Enemies are much less aggressive and tactical this time around. They became complete fodder and just a total downgrade from aesthetics, animation, and AI.
You're just never put into a position where you don't feel powerful enough to wander into an area and fight. Unless of course it's those damn sentinel towers. If the gameplay could have kept to its namesake and had you raging onward through combat like Doom did, it may have kept my attention longer. Instead, every 2-minute base clear was rounded off by 5 minutes of searching for pink-lidded crates on pink splash backgrounds and a few more minutes navigating your way to the next trash pile for a fight. Everything I got right had to try to lift a Thor's hammer of bad open-world design, and none of it was worthy.
There's also a distinct lack of polish in Rage 2. I'm sure some of it'll get patched out, but when I played, menus would lag, I couldn't access a vendor's inventory sometimes. Whatever this is happened, I don't know. What were some of your issues, Abbreviated Reviews?
The most noticeable technical problem that I had with Rage 2 was an endless barrage of background sounds. At times it would sound like the entire production of Stomp just fell down some stairs. Sometimes it would be random far-off fights that were too loud for the distance, other times it would be objects in the game bouncing off geometry for no reason. Wearing headphones with a wide soundstage makes directional audio very distinct, so when you're being assaulted by sounds from various locations, it goes from distracting to ear gouging very quickly.
Rage 1 also had issue with popping, but rubble on the ground? I didn't even know popping could get that bad. And what the fuck is up with your hover cycle? Why is everything this color? While we're on color, why the hell is everything pink? It's an odd pairing with the overwhelmingly brown world. And if there's one color I associate with Rage, the emotion, not the game, it's hot pink. You know what? Fair. I stand corrected on that point. Rage 2 is an abomination of a game. The overall design of the map, story, characters is so incredibly lazy. The whole vibe of this game comes off as what a multi-million-dollar company thinks is edgy, and the immersiveness of the world suffers from it. In a vacuum, the combat is still great, but it's suffocated by the shoddy design of everything around it. The poor pacing, tedious side objectives, and underwhelming reward system just drag the whole thing down. I gotta give it some credit though, it did the impossible. It made me nostalgic of the first Rage. Rage 2 gets a D. Thank you guys so much for sticking around and watching all the video, and a big thanks to Abbreviated Reviews who joined me for this. There's a shorter version of the review on his channel, hence his name. It's pretty much just full of sarcasm and jokes, so you should definitely check that out. Let me know in the comments what you guys thought of Rage 2 or of the video itself. Also, feel free to let me know of any games that you want me to review in the future. Anyway, later. Actually, there's one more thing I need to do.